I've missed maybe, I don't know, 3 SLCSEM events. And the last time Mel Carson was out here, that was one of them. So I'm excited to see what he has for us. I heard the last one was fantastic, saw the video and all that, but I think in person it's going to be a bit better. So thanks for coming out. You are at SLCSEM. If you're confused, there might be the scout troop out there that you were trying to join. I'm Ryan Nadeau, for those that don't know. It looks like a bunch of familiar faces tonight, which is great. We have an amazing event tonight, and we have some huge news to discuss. So let's jump into it here. As always, progression makes a lot of this possible, keeps the memberships down. Let's always make sure to thank them when you see them. They have a bunch of gigs right now for marketers and customer support and interns and all this other stuff, so check them. That's their site. We love those guys. So, March event is going to be massive. And I'm not saying that in like the pitch type of way, the hyperbole way. It's kind of ballooned a bit. So, as you may have heard us announce last time, we've been talking about this CEO deal, right? This CEO panel is what I was kind of coining it. So after the last event, a guy by the name of Travis Ashby came up to me. He's involved with Blue Ventures, and they're the ones putting on the corporate business games, the Utah business games or whatever. So he came up to me, and they said that they were talking about doing a CEO summit, and it just so happened that theirs originally was like March 19th or something like that. So he said it probably makes sense for us to join forces a bit, and after talking with him, I couldn't agree more. So we have, over the past little bit, started, I don't know, creating this monster, if you will. And I am hesitant to say anything that's not absolutely confirmed. So just know that what you see is the bare minimum of what's going down. And there is a lot of awesome to be had. So I will tell everyone here, the biggest issue with this is going to be capacity. This will sell out. Tickets for non-members may be $100. We're still working that out, and I'm not kidding on that. Members get in free. But the Leonardo may not be big enough. So we're still working out the details, but essentially the goal behind this initially was to get some interaction with CEOs, CMOs, presidents of big, serious companies. $250 million plus valuation type companies. And as soon as word got out, it's funny how many executives are really willing to get on stage and talk about some of the issues we were presenting. So the thought process is it's going to be bucketed into a few different points for the conversation. For employees, this is going to give you a chance to hear how you can basically show these executives how to get a promotion. How can you show your value to someone even though you're not interacting with them, right? How can you improve your career at that company if you want to, or any company, because they're all going to have their own tips, tricks, and etc. And it's not like this is going to be exclusive to just the people on the panel, right? When you interact with an executive, they don't have a lot of time. They have a different world that they're living in. And you've got to know how to show them the money, right? So for employees, it's going to be huge. For small business owners, entrepreneurs, etc., there's going to be tips on how you can become a great CEO. There's going to be tips on things that you should work on as far as culture and things that you should focus on to make your business way more successful. For agencies, these people are going to tell you their pain points and what they're willing to pay for. So we got a little bit of something for everyone. There's going to be an after party over at Soccer City, and we're going to warm up the corporate business games arena with 32 different ping pong tables, 26 foosball tables, 2 golf simulators, air hockey, basketball. There's Nintendo, there's like a video game tournament. This thing is starting to balloon. So I'm telling you, it's going to be sweet. Google's going to open the show. They're coming out with something special. And here are the current confirmed companies that are involved. Progression, which I love their support. Their CEO's coming out. Digicert, I'm very scared of, because that's my CEO. And Applicant Pro, Sarah Jones is their CEO, and also the, I think, co-founder of the Women Tech Council. Boostability's CMO, Kelly, is going to be showing up and bringing the marketing viewpoint. Just got word that Pluralsight and Inside Sales are going to be showing up, their CEOs. And there's a few others that want to join the party, so we'll see what happens here. It's going to be at the Leo, tentatively. And I say that because it is like a space issue. I think that when everything's said and done, that we could hit 500 seats, but there is something to having like that intimate setting, right? So, well, let me pull the room real quick. Would you prefer to be at the Leo? For those that haven't been there, it sits 200. It's theater sitting. It's not like we can add into it, and have that kind of a setting, or move it to a, I don't know, University of Utah location, or some other thing that could fit 1,000 people. I don't know if we'd hit 1,000, but potentially 600, 700 is realistic here. So who would prefer the Leo 200-person intimate deal? All right. So let me just see who would prefer the bigger setting, more people involved, energy. That was not helpful. Okay. Well, we'll just base it on RSVPs. So when this page goes up, RSVP ASAP. Again, we're going to open it up to members first. You're going to have the first chance to do anything. We love you guys. And then after that, once it goes public, game on. So we'll see how it goes. But really look for more information on that very soon. Super stoked about it. Is Travis or anybody from the corporate games here? Clint Betts from Beehive? No? Okay. So, that said, oh, okay. Yeah, look at you, man. See, he didn't even give me this slide in time. He just slid it in okay.
Totally slid it in. I'm AJ Wilcox. For those of you who don't know me, I run the job board here at SLCSEM. As always, check slcsem.org/jobs for anything that you're looking at. Jesse Nuttall, would you stand up for us? So Jesse is over there at Utah Digital Services, and he has the position currently up here that he's hiring for, and you may want to go find him afterwards if you're interested. There's also another position in the wings that may or may not be in the process of being finalized. Sorry for calling you out on that one. But anyway, if you're looking for opportunity, definitely chat with Jesse, and thanks.
Well done. I thought we had some gigs up there. I know there's a ton of opportunity out there right now. I know Clearlink has a bunch, et cetera, et cetera. So for tonight's event, we've got the two Mels, right? So Melanie Reed from Bing is going to come and wow us with the latest insights over there. I'm always interested in seeing the inside news. Hopefully you share some of that secret sauce that usually an NDA is required for. If not, that's cool. The next speaker is going to be Mel Carson, as I mentioned earlier, from Majestic, previously Majestic SEO, for those that may not know by the current name. He's going to be going over their new link map and all this, and how you can utilize it for just a ton of things other than SEO, and kind of give you an update on their company and where they're going. And it's it's going to be a wild evening. So let's welcome Melanie Reed to the stage.
There we go. Thank you. So thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here. You have better weather and worse traffic than I ever expected, but it's lovely to be here. Before we get started tonight, I'd like everyone to take just a moment and think about a time when you really, really wanted something. You really wanted something. It doesn't even need to be something big. I can think of a time when what I really, really wanted was a Cheeto. I know, that's setting the bar high. But you might be wondering, if this woman had such a Jones for Cheetos, why she didn't go out and just buy herself a bag. At the time, I'm a little kid, maybe 5 years old, so I didn't really have the means to go out and buy any Cheetos for myself. Aside from that, I had one of those moms that wouldn't buy me any junk food. So my access to Cheetos and my chance of getting any Cheetos were pretty slim to none. The cards were stacked against me. But I wanted the Cheetos. I really wanted them. And then, one day, there I'm sitting in the little waiting room outside of Walker's School of the Dance, waiting for my big sister to finish up with her ballet lesson, and I saw it. Right there, on the floor, back under the chair, there was a Cheeto. I didn't even think about it. I didn't waste any time. I dropped to the floor in my tap shoes and leotard. I crawled under that chair, and I popped that Cheeto in my mouth. I didn't care that it was stale. I didn't care that it was dusty. That was the best Cheeto I've ever eaten in my entire life. Because when you really, really want something, and you finally get it, it's a pretty amazing thing. So I'm Melanie Reed. I've been working in search since 1998. I'm happy to tell you, I'm no longer scrounging around on the floor for junk food. I'm now a Bing evangelist at Microsoft. And at Microsoft and at Bing, we're focused on giving our customers and our advertisers what it is that they really, really want. We're listening to your feedback, and our engineers and our development team are prioritizing that feedback to determine what we work on next, what goes into our queue. So how do we know exactly what it is that our customers are asking us for? It's really simple. We're listening to you. We're hosting product advisory groups. We have client and agency summits, even engagements like this one where we're out there talking to people that are using Bing and the Bing Ads platform. We're listening, and we want to know what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like about Bing, and that's what we're doing when we prioritize and decide what we're going to work on next. So we're getting all this feedback, and we're seeing some themes, and we were starting to put this feedback into three main buckets. First is simplicity. We know you guys are really, really busy. There's only so many hours in the day. You might be spending a big chunk of your time working on another search marketing platform, just maybe. So the time that you do have to devote to Bing, we want to make sure that it's easy for you, that it's simple, that there are no barriers to entry, and that you can spend your time wisely and get done what you need to have done. Second is data. Now, this is my favorite. I'm a bit of a data nerd, as I'm sure a lot of you in the room might be. And as a publisher, we have access to a tremendous amount of data. We really have visibility into everything that's going on in the auction environment. We want to be as transparent as we can with this information and share it to our advertisers so that you have the data that you need to make more informed decisions when you're planning your campaigns and optimizing. And finally is scale. We're doing a lot to build the Bing brand. We're doing this through aligning Bing not just as a destination. So you might think of Bing, sure, you go to bing.com, or maybe you go to the toolbar, you plug in your keywords, you get your search results, and Bing certainly is a search engine, but at Microsoft, we're also setting it up as a platform that is powering devices and services at scale. So Bing is integrated into the Windows operating system. When we roll out Windows 10, it will be even more deeply integrated through Cortana, our personal digital assistant. Bing is in the Windows Phone. It's an Xbox. We have strategic partners that you might want to think of with people that would not be partnering with Microsoft, like Amazon and Apple. So we're making these partnerships, and we're getting Bing out there to drive traffic and volume for our advertisers. And then we're also focusing on those shiny new ad formats that are really going to drive engagement for your customers. So simplicity, data, and scale. Today we're going to look at two things in the data bucket, since like I said, it's my favorite. The first one is Bing Ads Campaign Planner. So this is a new tool that we've rolled out to help you with your campaign optimization. And second, we're going to look at some data and a study that we did on how to optimize for ad extensions. So let's kick it off with the demo of Campaign Planner. So has anyone used it in the room? Just a couple people, okay. I think you're gonna like it. I've been working with Ad Center since back in its beta days, and I think this is really one of the coolest things we've ever done. So this is Campaign Planner, and you can access it in a couple of different ways. You can either go in the Bing toolbar. It's under the Tools menu. There's a drop-down, and you can access it through there. Or you can go to planner.bingads.microsoft.com and access it that way. So we rolled this tool out in September. In December, we made a lot of fancy upgrades to it, and we have even more upgrades coming this month to make it better and more robust. And you can really use it for three key things. The first is to get vertical insights and product level data. You can also use it for keyword research. And then third, you can use it to get competitive intel and information. So this is what it looks like when you log into the UI. And you can see first off over here on the left rail that we have view by vertical. So you can expand any of these verticals, and then you'll see that you have sub-verticals, and this number here tells you how many things are under that particular sub-vertical. So everything kind of drops down that way. You can also do searches by keyword right here. So since it's everyone's favorite time of year, let's take a look at the tax vertical to start off with. And then we can kick that out of the way so we have more room. So right away you can see that we get the product insights pane. So the default is for year-over-year traffic for the tax preparation and planning vertical, or whichever vertical you have selected. You can also change it to go year over year, week over week, or per day. So let's look at week over week. And then this gives you data for the past 3 weeks, and then you can kind of see how things are trending as we're getting a little closer to tax season. More and more people are starting to think about filing their taxes, me included. Down here at the bottom then we have our KPIs, some performance metrics, so you can see all up search volume, and then it's farther broken out by device type, so you can see desktop volume, smartphones, tablets, and then we get on to impressions, clicks. What I really like is that you see not only the average CPC for this particular vertical, but that we break it out more granularly than Google does. So you can see the top of page CPC, so that's how much you're going to be paying to be above the organic results. And then you can see the average CPC for the sidebar. You can also look at YBN core searches, or if you want to include the Yahoo Bing Network partners, you can include those as well. So then we have a couple little fancy tabs up here. If you want to do some geo-targeting, you can search by location. I know there's a lot of other here right now. I'm actually asking questions to why we don't have a little more granular data here. But then you can see kind of what you would think, since everyone has to file taxes, it sort of breaks out by population. So Texas, California, Florida, the highly populous states are getting the most searches. But you get this, these nice little charts here. And then you can also look at performance by device type. So most people are doing their taxes on a desktop, as you would expect. Some people are looking for tax information on their smartphones and also by tablets. So if you are doing any bid modifications in your campaigns to optimize by device type, then this is insight that can be helpful in helping you to really target your campaigns based on where the traffic is coming from. You can also go in and look at things more granularly by keyword. So this will give you the top 100 keywords, and you can look at as many or as few as you would like. And then the default is to search to sort them by volume. So you can see here, a lot of people want to look for TurboTax instead of paying an accountant. So again, you have a lot of core KPIs here: search volume, desktop volume, smartphone, etc. And then clicks and average CPCs and average CTR. If you want to get even more granular, you can drill into the keyword level and then see the same types of KPIs here and look at seasonal impressions and seasonality for your keyword. And as you would imagine, people aren't really thinking about their taxes in August and September. So you start seeing these nice upticks, and you can look at those again per day, or as granular as you want to go to kind of look and see what your seasonal trends are looking like. And then similar to as you could do at the vertical level, you can look at them by geolocation or by device type. Now, my favorite thing is the competition tab, and this is what we just added back here in December. So this shows you by domain level URL the top 20 advertisers that are competing in the auction for either your predefined vertical or for the keywords that you've selected. So this really gives you an edge up when you're looking to see who is bidding in the same space that you are. So you find out here, TurboTax, for example, is showing up in greater than 90% of the ads. They have best position coverage more than 90% of the time. And then you also find out how often they're at the top of the page, how often they're at the sidebar, and what their average position is. So again, when you're doing your campaign planning, you want to know who's competing against you. You want to go and look more closely at their campaigns. This gives you great insight, and you don't have to use a separate tool to do this. It makes it very easy and very quick to find this information. Let's look at another vertical quickly. This one is sort of hidden under occasions and gifts, but if you are any sort of industry that has seasonality, this one is helpful too. You get a breakout here under holiday and seasonal events by holiday. So if we just look at Valentine's Day here, again, you see similar things. And this is just helpful, like if you're planning for Christmas or Easter or what have you, especially for keyword research. This might help you find negatives or help you look at some keywords that you might not have thought of before. One other thing that you can do with any particular keyword search or with any vertical, if it's something you know that you're going to be looking at frequently, just go in here and click Add to Favorites. This stuff is really easy to find on its own, but next time you log into the campaign planner, then you have everything right here in your favorite products. So it's even that much simpler to go in and look and see how your keywords or your products are trending. You can also export either, most of these lists into CSV format. So for example, if you're working on building out keywords, just export it into a CSV file, and that makes it really easy to add negatives or new keywords to your campaigns. So pretty cool, huh? All right, I will go back to my deck. All right, so in terms of the benefits that you can get by using this tool, it helps you optimize your budgets for seasonality and fluctuations. A lot of you already have pretty good insights, know when seasonality trends are coming up for your particular lines of business, but this can really help you more at the keyword level, or if there are seasonal fluctuations, week over week, more granular fluctuations, this is a great tool to use to get that kind of insight. Smart bidding decisions. If you know that you need to be above the fold to get the most traffic for your campaign, you can go in and easily look at what the average CPCs are for your vertical or for a given keyword. It also helps you understand the competitive landscape, which is my favorite feature of this. We're being really transparent, and we're making it really easy for people to find and access this information. targeting decisions, if you're looking at geo-targeting, or if you want to do some bid modifications for device types, this gives you great information and insight there. And finally, you can use it to discover negatives and for keywords as well. So if you haven't checked the tool out yet, I would definitely recommend that you do so. Play with it. If you have any feedback, ways that we could make it better, we would love to hear it. As I said, we're listening and we're developing tools and we're improving tools based on advertiser feedback. So the next thing I wanted to touch on was optimizing for ad extensions. And ad extensions really are just about the best ad format to happen to search in the past several years in terms of advertiser engagement and in terms of really helping you move the needle on your campaigns. I think none of us would argue with that. But what a lot of people may not know, especially since ad extensions aren't really all that old, they haven't been around forever, is how do we really get the most out of ad extensions and how do we optimize for them? So let's quickly recap some of the core extensions. First is location extensions. If you have any kind of brick and mortar store at all, it is essential that you're using location extensions because you want to get that advertiser through your front door, swiping their credit card. Even if they're not transacting online, you want them walking in the door. Similarly, with call extensions, if you have a business where someone is picking up the phone when someone calls, or if you're referring people to a call center, getting people to call your business is crucial to increasing conversions. I know a lot of us have seen the BIA Kelsey study that tells you that people that pick up the phone and call are 10 times more likely to convert than those that don't. And finally, there's site links. And this is just a simple matter of really taking up a lot of real estate on the page. There's only so much real estate, especially when we're looking at mobile phones. So site links makes your ads bigger. It also makes it a lot easier for your end users because they can very easily navigate to the subpage where they want to go on your ad. So what happens with site links then? We get these incredible lifts in CTRs. For location extensions, up to 20% more, 10% more for call extensions, and 13% boost for site links. So singularly, we know that any of these extensions are a great thing to add to your campaign. But is it better to use all of them? Does it matter if you're on a particular device? Does it matter by vertical? We wanted to know. So we did a study, and we looked at Bing Ads data from July through September of 2014, so pretty recent data. And these are the questions we asked. We wanted to know, how do you move the needle with ad extensions? So this is what we found. For the most part, the more ad extensions you're using, the better. Over on the left, if you're using location extensions plus site links, you get an average lift across devices and verticals of 16.3%. Contrast that CTR to ads that have no ad extension, that's actually less than 1%. It's 0.8% CTR. So it's really kind of a no-brainer to use ad extensions and use multiple ad extensions if it makes sense for your business. We wanted to look a little more granularly as well, so we broke it out by device type. So first up is PCs. So on PCs, the winning combination was to have location extensions and site links. That resulted in an average CTR increase of 18%, which is pretty significant. And then you can see some of the other breakouts as well, metered calls plus site links alone, or a combination of locations, metered calls, and site links, and the incremental gains that you get there. But the winning combination on PCs was location extensions and site links. Next, we looked at mobile. And on mobile, we really found that having call extensions, location extensions, and site links was the best combination. And you got a 19% lift in CTRs if you were using all three of those extensions. Again, if you think about it, on a mobile screen, how many ads are showing up? One, maybe two, right? So you want to take up the shelf space, and you want to have your ad as prominent as possible. And using all these different ad extensions helps you to do that. We did this eye tracking study, and we looked at where people were looking on a mobile device when there were multiple extensions versus no extensions at all. And you can see it's really a dramatic difference. With multiple ad extensions, everybody is looking right there at your ad. They're just zoomed in on it. If you're not using ad extensions, it's kind of all over the place. So for any advertiser, where it makes sense, use as many ad extensions as possible on your mobile device. Next, we looked at tablets. So as you might imagine, tablets performed pretty similarly to PCs. We saw that location extensions plus site links had the greatest lift, so 17%. So by now you might be seeing a theme. Location extensions plus site links is a combination that seemed to work across most devices. So we also wanted to look at verticals and to see if there were any differences there. And we found, again, that on 5 out of 7 verticals that we looked at, location extensions plus site links was the winning combination. So that's our trend. We're seeing location extensions if you have a brick and mortar store plus site links. That's how you can really drive the highest CTRs. To break it out and look at this more granularly by sub-vertical, this is how it breaks out. So you can see for any type of business here that has a brick and mortar store, so FinServe, tech and telco, travel and transportation, places where people are more likely to walk in and swipe that credit card, having location extensions and site links is the way to go. It can get you really nice incremental lifts in your click-through rates. So to wrap it all up, when you're testing your ad extensions, test specific ad types and really focus and look to see how you can maximize your CTRs. Both device type and vertical do matter, but we know you only have so many hours in the day, so if you're just going to default to one choice, go for location extensions and site links. So, do we do Q&A now or afterwards or after? Okay, awesome. Thanks then for your time.
Thank you. See, I am a PPC person, so you just that planning tool is going to have the rest of my week hosed. And thank you. In my haste earlier, I forgot a couple of important details. Maria, who is our current event director, is stepping down to handle life business. And we thank her for her time. She'll still be involved. She's been huge. She's the reason we're at this current location. And again, she'll still be around, but she's got to take care of some stuff in her personal life and professional life. And I get it. She's done a great job for us. I hate to see her go. But we've also got somebody replacing her. Alex, come on up. Alex. We're going to have her sing if she doesn't get over. Right? So Alex is going to be our event coordinator, and I'm going to make her tell us a little bit about herself. But at the same time, if you have any event feedback, if you want to give any ideas on speakers, how bad the catering is, any complaints, etc., talk to Alex.
I'm Alex. I just graduated from the U, and I was in a sorority, so we did a lot of event planning for our formals, for philanthropy, for meetings, just about everything under the sun that we have done. I'm very organized, and I love to plan events, and I love to be organized and to organize things, so I think that I bring a lot to the table for this.
Yeah.
Welcome her. We definitely agree, and I'll go take my Adderall now. Anyway, so Mel Carson, everyone.
Oh. Hello, good evening. Oh, hello. I've flown all the way from Seattle for that reaction. Hello, good evening. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. As you can tell from the way that I speak, I'm not from around these here parts. I'm actually from London, England. Thank you for not assuming I was from Australia. And technically, I don't have an accent. Y'all have the accent, okay? So we'll get off on the right foot. I'm here with Majestic, looking a bit like Madonna with this thing in my ear. I'm going to get into my groove in just a minute. But I'd like to start with a story. We all like a bit of a story, especially after a gargantuan amount of chicken. Very nice chicken, tasty. This is my old headmaster, Abbot Christopher Jamison. I went to an English public boarding school, a bit like Hogwarts. Very much like Hogwarts, actually. This is my headmaster, and he's a bit of a celebrity over in the UK for a number of reasons. He's a bit of a media guy. He likes to get out there. And before I joined Microsoft back in 2005, I was doing PPC campaigns on Google AdWords, and he rang me up and he said, "You do this search engine marketing thingy, don't you?" And I said, "Well, yes, I do." And he said, "Well, could you set up a campaign for me?" And I said, "For you?" I said, "But you're a monk." He said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, we're into goals in my company. What is your goal for this PPC campaign?" And he said, "Well, we want to recruit a monk." I said, "You want to recruit a monk through a search engine?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Tell me your thinking, Father." And he said, "Well, we've got a BBC Two documentary coming out soon called The Monastery. And we take 12 ne'er-do-wells from the street and we put them in the monastery for 40 days and 40 nights, and we take them through some all the stuff that we do and see whether we convert them. But we just thought that maybe someone's watching the TV and they're on their computer at the same time, and they might be inspired to do a retreat or come to our monastery, and they might do a search for the monastery or retreat." And I thought, well, if we made sure that we were at the top of those lists on that Google machine, then someone might click on it, and then we might end up getting a monk. And I said, "Oh my God, that's brilliant." So I set him up a campaign. I asked my Google rep for a list of suitable negative keywords for what people type in with regards to monks and nuns, which you can imagine is fairly fruity. And I uploaded the campaign and kind of set it off, taught him how to fiddle around with some bids and stuff, and that was it. And then 3 years later, he comes to me. He said, "Mel, we've hit the jackpot." I said, "You shouldn't be gambling, you're a monk." He said, "No, we've actually hired our first monk because of your campaign." And I said, "Well, do you have a testimonial? Because that would make a really good opening to my next presentation." And he said, "Yes, I do." And it goes something like this. This is the guy that they hired, and he's now a monk at this monastery. "And so I began to feel that God might be calling me to the priesthood. I really needed to talk to someone, but I had no idea who to turn to." Sad, isn't it? Well, I turned to Google. I think I typed in something like retreat or religious vocation, and top of the list was the monastery website. If it hadn't been for the internet, I would probably still be a software engineer. Brilliant! My point here is that everybody keeps talking. Last year, well, a couple of years ago, it was the year of big data. And then a few years before that, it was always mobile, or mobile, as we call it in my country. Last year, it was all content marketing. And my point here is that this was over 10 years ago, this guy was doing that. That he had the forethought to think of what's going on in TV might get people to search for it on a search. And if I create an experience in a community whereby I can interact with that person based on the particular frame of mind they are at that particular time, I might be able to hook them in. We decided to call this metric CPM, cost per monk. And it was quite a different conversion. Thank you. I thank you all. That's me done for the night. So a little background. I used to work at Microsoft for many years. I helped launch Microsoft Ad Center back in 2005. I left in 2012 and started my own business, Delightful Communications, and I help people with social media strategy and personal branding and digital PR, which is why Majestic asked me to be their US brand ambassador, because those of you who know Dixon Jones knows that he spends half his life on an aeroplane. Business class, I might add, but he spends half his life on an aeroplane. So I get to come around and meet really smart folks like you and talk about what Majestic's doing out there in the marketplace and the latest and greatest. And I also wrote a book called Pioneers of Digital, and I know everybody was really hoping Danny Sullivan would show up tonight, but he's off skiing somewhere. His whole story is in this book about how he started Search Engine Watch and then Search Engine Land and all that caper. And I'm going to give that away to the smartest question we get later on today. So start thinking up questions. This is Majestic. What? This is Majestic's data center in 2008. They just celebrated last year their 10th anniversary of being alive in the marketplace. I remember when Dixon Jones came to me in it was about 2009, saying, "Oh my God, you've got to look at this thing." And I didn't really understand it because I'm not born and bred SEO. But that was, the original data center. And for those of you, is everybody aware of Majestic? Those of you that are, yeah, okay. So we'll give you a little bit of background and then we'll talk about how to use it differently, which is basically the premise behind the presentation. But essentially it's a link intelligence database. It's like a privately owned search engine. And it has a distributed crawler that goes and crawls the web and basically pulls back all that link data that the likes of Google don't necessarily let you know all about. It sees about 1 billion URLs every day. So they're crawling about 1 billion URLs every day to make sure that the data that they have in those reports is as fresh as possible. And a few weeks ago, they just crawled their 1 trillionth URL. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? First, put their hand up. There you go. You go. Oh, no. So start counting now. And when I've finished, in about half an hour, see how far you've got as close to 1 trillion. And then you can just see, because I was talking to Robert Brady earlier, he was saying, I just cannot imagine what those kind of numbers are. So it really is as big data, a big data company as you can get, and essentially knows who links to who. And it's got flow metrics, which are the scores that it puts against these links and domains. And I'll talk you through a few scenarios to try and explain that. And it's used predominantly for SEO, but we dropped the SEO in response to the fact that I'm making a lot of traction in the digital marketing industry, talking to people about how to use the data differently, not just for link building and getting rid of penalties and things like that, and how you can use it for digital PR. But we also dropped the SEO because we'd show up at Elizabeth's conferences, SMX, and people would come up to us and say, "Are you an SEO agency? Can you help me with my and it was difficult to scale the business with just being focused with SEO. So we rebranded, won lots of awards. That's Dixon Jones at the back, and that's Alex, who rarely says a word. Alex Chudnovsky, he's the Russian guy with their big data center there, and it's all very cool. And they're based in Birmingham in the UK. So we see links really being about relationships, not just relationships between web pages, but being able to surface data and surface interesting trends that can create relationships between people. And by that, I'm kind of erring down the line of, journalists, influencers, bloggers, and people like that. I was very sad. It's taken me 3 years to understand the rules of American football. And luckily 2 of them, Seattle was at the Super Bowl. So it was a final hurrah for Seattle. This is my mate, Ryan Azadorian, who's actually Blitz. He's just retired as the mascot for the Seahawks. But I showed him this data, and this is essentially the Majestic homepages. You're going to put in the Site Explorer, a URL. So any URL, any domain, and it's going to pull back all this data. What you've got here in the bottom in the bottom rung with the red circle around it, those are the external backlinks to seahawks.com from however many referring domains, referring IPs, etc. This is kind of the summary page. And by the way, we're going to be sending you all a free 1-month trial to Majestic via your emails afterwards. You can play around with this data yourself. The one update that I've got, or one of the updates that I've got since I was here last in 2013, is the fact that we've managed to categorize the web through what we call topical trust flow. Trust flow is essentially, or the flow metrics are essentially the way that we score URLs. It's all very well knowing how many URLs a particular domain has linked to it, or how many URLs, how many links a particular URL has to it, but you've got to be able to score it and give it a value so that you can make intelligent decisions over whether that's a good link or a bad link. So on the right, you've got citation flow, which is the amount of links, and trust flow is where they do a reverse lookup of the top 100,000 websites that we know human beings actually look at and actually spend time on, and we're able to determine how trustworthy those links are. And so traditionally, this has been used to look at websites and figure out where are the bad links, to get rid of penalties, and also to go out and find good websites to do link building with. But what they did last year was add this whole topical trust flow, where basically, I think they've used 800 different categories where you can go down and through any URL, you can see we've categorized all the links. So it actually buckets all the links that you've got to a particular URL or domain into different categories. And that's really helpful for competitive analysis. That's really helpful for, if you're a site that's all about baseball and you suddenly see a category in there for practical basket weaving and needlework, then perhaps you've got an irrelevant link and you want to have a word with that site to say, could you not link to my baseball site, please? Because that's not particularly relevant. So here you go. The trust flow is really about humans, so we know that humans actually go to those sites, and the citation flow is the quantity. The graphs that Majestic put out, they're constantly revisiting the UI and making the user experience even better. I know that a lot of you at agencies dealing with clients, and they love to see these kind of visualizations. So here in this graph is the visualization of a particular website of the Seahawks.com to show where and how they've got a good set of links, and that they could be doing a little bit of work on some of the spammy links that they're getting as well. And that's Blitz back at his desk because the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl. I think when I was here last time, I used this this analogy for explaining flow metrics. We used to talk about like a stream, babbling brook, and there'd be links up here that then were pooled in links down here, and they all kind of had a relationship down the stream. And then I joined and I got out the British royal family tree, and I said, well, it's a bit like a family tree, isn't it? You've got Queen Victoria at the top, and then we've all got a bit of Queen Victoria in us further on down the family tree. So DNA flows through the generations. But then we've put together some videos. I've done the voiceovers for them. Thank you very much. We've done some new training videos where we talk about the decaying algorithm. So a decaying algorithm is basically where the first link comes in here, and the more links further on down the chain, the more that kind of what I think was rather disgustingly used in the old days as link juice, kind of filters down and decays further on down the chain. So this is one way of putting it. Is site A links to site B, it links to site D. And if we were to put that in practical terms, it would be something like your site being on the far right here, and you getting any link from, as seen on screen, or BP or IKEA, but you would get more trustworthy, more kudos with the search engines if those sites have actually somewhere down the chain of events had links from the BBC or CNN that have high trust, high citation flow sites. So that's kind of trust flow, and as I've said, we just recorded a video which explains that all. But it was something that was definitely needed after Majestic launched in order to really drill down into the data and tell people what was a good link and what was a bad link. The great thing about Majestic, I'm all about competitive analysis. I love what Melanie was talking about with competitive analysis in the Bing Ads campaign planner. Here, what we did was we put the 49ers and the Denver Broncos and the Patriots and the Miami Dolphins in there. So again, there's competitive analysis tools in there that you can pitch against your clients. If your site is actually verified on the site, rather like Google Webmaster Tools, you can actually access all your data for free. But this free month's trial that we're going to give you, you'll be able to get in there and do some competitive analysis. And you'll be surprised what they throw up. A lot of people ask, what does a bad link profile look like? Well, this looks like a bad link profile. This site was actually in Spanish, and yet the homepage title was recipes, and it had 35,000 backlinks. Nearly all of them are right down the bottom on the trust flow side of things. So this is what happens time and time again when we're on a booth at SMX or SES or ClickZ or any of those conferences. Someone comes along and says, "Oh, well, we did some link building back in 2008. Has that harmed us somewhat?" And we kind of have a look there, and they've disappeared out the index, and we're able to say, "Yep, that's why." The other thing about this site is it's Spanish, and you can see there's a ton of links coming in from China, one big one from the middle of Spain, and none from South America. So there's obviously something dodgy going on there if this site is getting most of its links from non-Spanish speaking websites. So another indication is the fact that we can show you all these things over time. One of the things that when I talk about how to use this for kind of PR and influencer discovery, we're talking to a lot of kind of VCs and companies that want to see how well a company has done over a given course of a time. So you can, oh, the Cub Scouts are watching. They're learning all about Majestic. Hi, guys. Over time, it can be very, very interesting to see a map, say, a big Fortune 500 company with another one, to see over time where there have been peaks and troughs in the amount of links coming in. And I'll talk a bit about those in the context of PR fireworks, as I like to call them. So I'm not an SEO. I know a little bit about it, and have worked in the industry enough to know what I know. But my real kind of passion is around digital PR. And what I mean by digital PR is not PR as in press relations, as in ringing up journalists saying, "Will you write about my story?" It's more about using the data to really think smartly about pitching stories, about getting coverage, about getting links, about getting people to talk about brands and influencers to talk about companies based on the kind of data that you can collate from a myriad of different tools. And I'm going to talk specifically about how we do that with Majestic. This is a great slide that shows that, in 2000, pretty much, boom, all newspaper, print ads went by the wayside because everybody was coming online. Was that because everybody was coming online to read their news? Well, maybe. But 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, once social media came along, according to Experian Marketing Services, who did this great research, it's more like people are spending more time on social media. They're actually getting their news from Twitter, Facebook, wherever it is, that are actually pumping out news articles, and we're following people and we're following journalists, and we spend, according to these guys, very little time. You can see there only about 2 minutes in any given hour actually on news sites. So it's important to understand when we're talking about news and we're talking about PR in the context of digital, that social media and the channel is really important. Also the device, obviously. Now we talk about search engines having different segmentations for tablets and mobile and desktop and all that kind of stuff. Forrester here talking about how many tablets they're going to be by 2016. I think this number's probably gone up by now to more like there'll be 1 billion of these things around the world. But again, a tablet's a very different experience than a cell phone, which is a very different experience from a desktop computer, which, thankfully for Microsoft, who I do a lot of work with, my wife still works there, there'll still be 2 billion PCs in the world by next year. To make things more complicated on top of that, and I'm sure you guys know a lot about this, but this was some research that I was involved with a couple of years ago when I was at Microsoft, called Context Matters. So you've got the channel, you've got the device, but now you've got the context that that particular person is operating in. So in the morning, according to their research, the research that we did, we're doing more communication. We're spending time on our email, we're on the phone. It's only in the afternoon that maybe we actually get a free time to actually get some work done, or get some writing, or get that project off the ground. And then in the evening, once the kind of peak period's gone and we've gone home, that's when we're maybe leaning back a little more and reading the news, or doing something more creative through, with a tablet and whatever. So again, thinking about the context that the person's in, and whatever message you're putting out there is relevant for whatever that person might be doing at that particular time. I was at the University of Utah last night doing a talk, and I talked about it then, and I don't know why I didn't get it off my phone, but I've got a screenshot of a whole bunch of digital marketing newsletters that I get every day, and naming no names, one comes in at 9 o'clock, the next one 9:01, 9:02, 9:06, and they've all gone, oh, when do you think people will be reading one of our, oh, let's stick it in at 9 o'clock. They haven't done the competitive analysis to see that everybody else sends out their newsletter at the same time. What do I do when I've got 10 of them? I'm just going to delete all of them and forget they ever happened, because I just can't cope with that kind of information overload. So context, very important. I might look at one. And then my friends at Bing Ads, and I pinched this from John Gagnon, he's not really French. And this was research they did into conversion rates. So then, what do we got now? We got the channel, we got the time of day, we got the context, we got the device, and now we've got the device, but what actually converts at what time of day? So again, it added layers of complexity. Now, I don't want to depress you all, but there are ways through this. I worked with a lot of PR firms since leaving Microsoft, and with the PR teams when I was at Microsoft. Since leaving there, I've always been surprised by this magic PR book that kind of comes out whenever there are some coverage reports. And I've seen coverage reports saying, I got you a mention in Travel Weekly, which has a circulation of 2 bajillion people. And the CMO reads this and goes, oh, 2 bajillion people saw my company's name. No, they didn't. No, they didn't at all. Check out this story. Forbes. Everybody read Forbes? Everybody like Forbes? No, maybe? We got a byline in Forbes. Fantastic. Mel's on Forbes. I'd only been in America for about a year. I was able to tell all my friends back in the UK, I've made it, because I's in Forbes, in it. But look, if you actually look closely, you'll see the article got published at 11:13 PST. So 11:13 at night, everybody was in bed or just about to go to bed. Nobody read it. Nobody read it on the site. The only reason why it got 2,000 views was I bunged it into Facebook when you could boost. I'm right in thinking you could boost stuff on your own page, and you just can't do that anymore. All right? Anyway, I boosted it, and all my friends were going, oh, look at Mel, he's on Forbes. But it was like, I paid for that to go there. And that day, I looked at the real-time stats for Forbes, and it says there, look, 462 posts in the last 24 hours. So that's 150,000 posts every year. That's an awful lot of content going out there in the ether. So that's an awful lot of little white lies PR people might be telling their CMOs about exactly how many people could possibly be reading that article, reading the fullest extent of that article, and let alone seeing the name in it. The particular PR person that did this for us, I hope you're watching, stripped out all the links that we'd put at the beginning of this article because she said it made the Word doc look a bit messy. I was like, oh, but Jesus. So she put them back in. But do you see what I mean? You know, there are smoke and mirrors, but the beauty of it is that there is data to be able to tell even better stories and make better decisions about where we're looking for those opportunities to place stories and tell people about our products and services and how great we are. So the web is very crowded. I did a search using the word crowded, and this is a beach in China that's very crowded, and I'm not going to go there. So an analogy I heard back in the UK, I wish I could lay claim to this, maybe I could and no one would ever know, is bonfires and fireworks. When you're thinking about social media and how to integrate social and digital PR with SEO and integrated marketing and all this great stuff, a bit like Abbot Christopher Jamieson. Think of them as bonfires and fireworks. Bonfires being the cozy, warm places where everybody congregates and sits around and learns from each other and has those great conversations. That might be the Twitter, you know, that might be PPC chat. That might be, you know, SLCSEM. I know you guys all follow that. That kind of cozy place where people exchange and make very real connections. But the fireworks are the big PR and events, and those are the flares that go up, that draw people into your event. And that's where you've digitized that event. I was chatting to Corey Edwards, who's the social media excellence lead here at Adobe, about how they optimize all their events, and even they optimize other people's events to actually draw people to their booth. So it's not just about digital, but it's more about trying to use digital to create, you know, more meaningful and fruitful, you know, face-to-face interactions, and at the end of the day end up doing some business. So think about that as an analogy, and maybe when you're putting your plans together, say, you know, is this a firework or is it a campfire? This is one of my favorite pieces of information. The PR Newswire always send me an updated version. PR Newswire, PR news release company, using images and video, adding links, all that caper, multimedia. You're 500% more likely to get pickup and engagement from a journalist or a blogger if you've got that all in one place. I work very closely with the Bing Ads team. John Gagnon, I got him a piece on Huffington Post, and it was accepted within 6 minutes. And I knew it was because it was a great piece. I'd studied the people that needed, that were going to be publishing it, and knew that this was the kind of content that they wanted. And I sent his bio and a picture and a few screenshots, and it was all beautifully there. So there was no need for any, you know, coming back and saying, well, we don't really like that, but could you do this, and could you give it in that format, and, you know, do you have an image, and all that kind of stuff. So what they talk about here, you know, versus a text release, is important as well, not just for PR, but, you know, obviously when you're thinking about blogging and outreaching to influencers as well. Excuse me, this is my hop, skip and jump lily pad analogy, again, about making sure that content that you're putting out there doesn't have what I call the so what factor, that people fall off it and into the water and start drowning, going, well, where do I go next? That again, you've got that opportunity, once you've got them hooked in, or once you've placed that story or that byline and you give someone somewhere else to go, whether it's, if you like this, we've got a bunch of YouTube channels where we can train you up on that. And then on YouTube, taking the time to put those little fiddly annotations on there saying, at the end of this video, why don't you subscribe to us and check this video out, or go and have a look at our Instagram account. Making your audience hop, skip and jump around these different areas can mean, when we're talking about competitive analysis, that instead of someone spending 5 minutes with your brand, they're spending 20 minutes. And if they're spending 20 minutes, that's a hell of a long time that they can't be spending with your competition. So let's talk a bit about how we're using Majestic. Again, I should have set this up to play. Did everybody see the IKEA book video? Make a note of that. It was absolutely hilarious. It was a spoof parody video ad for the basically the IKEA catalogue that they put out the week before the iPhone 6 announcement and all that stuff. You see down the bottom there, it had nearly 9 million views within about 3 days of launching. You can see down there it said IKEA Singapore. For some reason they put it on that channel. Maybe that was because it was some kind of test, but it worked. And what I did was, because Majestic crawls YouTube as well as Twitter and other social channels, I took the YouTube URL and I stuck it into into Majestic to see how many backlinks it had had. And within that 3 days, we'd crawled it and then got out and crawled a billion URLs and came back. There were 700 links to that site. That 700 people, 700 publications, there or thereabouts, had actually written about the site. And we know that because they either link to it or they embed it and the link's therefore there and Majestic knows that it's there. Why is that cool? Well, let's say I've got a product that's like that, or I want people to feel the same way that I felt or that other people felt when they saw the IKEA BookBook video. Or I'm interested in doing a campaign like that, but I want to see what journalists really thought or said about it, or what bloggers really thought or said about it. So then I can tweak my messaging accordingly. Do that, download all the links, and then you get a good idea of the worldwide opportunity, because we know the IP addresses of all these links. We can see where people are actually linking to. So there was one down there in, if I got my geography right, Singapore, a couple in Australia, a lot in Europe, because obviously IKEA's from Sweden, and a lot in the US and Canada. People thought it was hilarious. Now, if that was a product that was US only, and there'd been a bunch of links in Europe, or in Russia, or in Australia, you could then drill down in those and find out why are people talking about a product that's only relevant to the US down in Australia. And potentially there would be an opportunity, a business opportunity, to maybe either start creating that product and selling it down in that particular locale, or at least start and advertise it using PPC or some other advertising method. So the geographic data that you can pick out is pretty cool. And then these are all the links. And what I did was I downloaded all 700 links and I sorted them by the trust flow, so the most trustworthy links. It looks like I sorted them by citation flow. The most trustworthy links. And you can see the list there that it was on Reddit. Someone wrote about it on Huffington Post, BuzzFeed Time. And I go down, they go, yeah, I know them. Dave Ramsey. Now, who is Dave Ramsey? And I didn't know who Dave Ramsey is. And he's some blogger chappie who's got a very cool website, and he does a lot of interviews. And I wouldn't necessarily have known who Dave Ramsey was if I hadn't done this kind of research to pick him out and say, oh, you know what? I might use him for a campaign later on, and I might approach him and say, hey, you love the BookBook thing, what about this? Or maybe you hated the BookBook thing, and I've got something you'll hate just as much and want to write about. Different way, different approach. So then how can you measure the PR impact? So let's say we put out a press release. This was Satya Nadella. He's spoken at a couple of search conferences because he was the man behind Bing and Bing Ads. And when I chatted to the guys at Court PR, I showed them Majestic, because I was giving them a little chat about digital, and I showed them how I'd put their press release about him becoming the new CEO, and that there were 27,000 backlinks. And they said, well, who on earth are all these people? And I said, well, you've only got so much time in the day. Your PR company's only got so much time in the day. You've probably got 100, 200, maybe 300 tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 press targets you go after, but there's an awful lot of people in niche areas that were interested in that. Why don't you pay someone to just go through the top 1,000 and figure out who they are, stick them on an email distribution letter and say, look, as soon as the press release gets launched over the wire, we're going to push play on this, and we're going to make sure you get it a lot sooner than the 2 or 3 days it took for you to write the article that you wrote about Satya. Thanks very much for doing that, by the way. And we'll give you a few other bits of information. So again, we're actually not going for just the tip of the iceberg, which are the Wall Street Journals, the New York Times, and all those kind of people. You're actually getting down into the real niches. And that's where, from Majestic's point of view, that you can drill down into the topical trust flow and be able to segment the messages that you're sitting out there. Because as you can see, You've got computers and software up there. You've got science and technology. You've got arts and entertainment. Arts and entertainment is probably something around Xbox and Xbox Music and all that kind of stuff. Measuring influence. Again, when we were talking about how to think about things laterally, this to me is the kind of influencer sweet spot. I do a lot of personal branding training. I do influencer work, but I also do personal branding training for people that want to become influencers. This is kind of the sweet spot as far as I see it. The people who are doers, they've got a successful track record. They either write articles, bylines, or they get interviewed a lot. They speak on panels. They do keynote speeches, or maybe they're just out there talking in their community. And because of all those things, they end up with a big social media following. Now, if we are approaching them and giving them, trying to get them to talk about our product or service, these are the three elements of success from my experience that needs to be useful content. That's why using data like from Majestic on top of, the Forbes 50 power influencers, based on followers, this data helps you slice and dice and cross-reference and bring down that number to, people with true influence that you can give useful content with. You can have that kind of value exchange where it contributes both ways, making sure that you have that regular contact. So it isn't just something, we release a product every 6 months, suddenly pop up, hello, Mr. Influencer, I've got something that I want you to talk about. Actually having regular content and actually being agile. That's part of the reason why I called this presentation agile, delightful, and unexpected, is being agile and being able to move and work quickly with outside opportunities. And outside opportunities like that come with all sorts of the crazy data that we're able to get in real time from search engines and from tools like Majestic. I'm working on the latest top 1,000 Twitter accounts. We're pitching that out soon, but you can see what Jabez wrote about 18 months ago on Forbes, and it got a lot of views actually, 7,000. And that was published at tea time when everybody's reading Forbes apparently. Again, if you want to see those articles about how we rank people based on who's talking about them and linking to them, then just do a search for Majestic Twitter rankings. I thought, as Danny isn't here, I'll talk about him. This is where it's not just about URLs with Majestic, you can actually use search phrases. So what I've done here is I've searched for Danny Sullivan, and yay and behold, the top link that he is most related to is Search Engine Land. Fantastic, we got that right. Which has 500,000 backlinks, is pretty trustworthy. His Twitter handle, this is interesting, has a bunch of backlinks too as well, because he's often cited in the news and in the press and from bloggers. Daggle, his personal blog, and also down there he's managed to get himself on the old Wikipedia. But again, when you're cross-referencing, when someone says to you, we need to speak to so-and-so because they're really influential. Why are they influential? They've got 150,000 Twitter followers. Well, is anyone actually writing about them or talking to them? Do they have links from reputable news sources? This is one way that you can look at it. And again, here, from a geographic point of view, I'm surprised given that they've got SMX Sydney, but he doesn't spend a lot, he doesn't go to Sydney, does he? Does he? No. Which is probably why he doesn't have any links, related to his name and articles and stuff down in Australia, but he does spend a lot of time, and obviously lived in England for a long time, and obviously spends a lot of time in the US. So again, this kind of data, what I'm trying to impress on you is to think about it creatively and think about different ways that you can slice and dice it for a myriad of other ways beyond just link building and SEOs. There are other influencer tracking tools out there. LinkDex just happens to use Majestic data. Tracker, Andy Beale's product there, uses Majestic data as well. We use Delightful uses Tracker, which is very good. And I haven't used BuzzSumo, but I've heard a few people talking about that. So that's another thing, another few arrows to put in your quiver. There we go. And then personal branding, and this is just something to think about, excuse me, as you progress in your career. And if you're looking to be a rock star in your company and whatever, this is just a couple of slides that I put together for a bit of a laugh to show you a good example of how not to express your personal brand. This is Ian Poulter, the English golfer, who tweeted a few months ago, "I booked 6 business seats for my wife and nanny to fly home on British Airways, and they've downgraded my nanny so Katie has no help for 10 hours with 4 kids. Ah, isn't that sad? Well, as you can see, the British and US press thought it was sad because they embedded that link in the Telegraph and the Bleacher Report and Yahoo, and he had a bit of a backlash on social media. Thoughts are with you at this dark time, Ian. Well done for distancing yourself from approximately 98.3% of the population, Ian. And then my favourite, world's smallest violin. So that's a good example about, how not to do your personal brand, especially as most people would kind of dial it back a little bit. Ian didn't. He came out and he said, I don't see what the problem is. I work as hard as everyone else to provide the best for my family so I can share my opinion. Well, I'd take you to task on that because I don't think you work as hard as everybody else because somebody carries your bag around that golf course, don't they? And all you do is hit the ball around and your Twitter avatar looks like that. So the personal branding stuff and checking out your Twitter handle and finding out who's been writing about you from a personal point of view, personal branding, influencer, turn it on, use these slides to think about it from that point of view. The other new stuff from Majestic, we've now just launched business pages about a week ago, where you can go on and you can get your own name on Majestic, which means that if you've got a business and you're a Majestic expert, you can go on there, you can claim your name, and then you can upload a profile so that people local to you know who you are. We run the social media for Majestic while Dixon's getting some shut eye. Majestic_US, we are on Twitter, and we'll be pointing people here. If people need an expert, here they can find someone local. And then the other thing is apparently people have been asking for years and years and years to introduce the top backlinks within the Site Explorer. So a bit like Bing. We've been listening to customers over the years about the user experience and the UI. They do have a UX designer now in an underground bunker down there in Birmingham working on this stuff. So in response to you guys, the Majestic community within the search marketing community, we've been listening very hard. And it slightly annoyed me because I'd recorded all the videos and then they came and said, oh, we've just released this, so I have to go and do the videos again. But that's all good fun, isn't it? So my final thought really is, a lot of this stuff can be hard. A lot of it, you want to tear your hair out, especially, I was talking earlier about, the different complexities. But if you're able to just step back a little bit and think about the different tools and the different data out there and really hone in on making decisions that really work, instead of trying to make 10 decisions and do 10 things at the same time, try and just do 5 things and use all the tools and all the data out there and do what I've done and what other people are now doing with Majestic, to turn it on its head and say, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this or we could use it like that, and get out there and test it. As I was saying to all the MBAs and the startup people at the university, at the U, I think you call it, last night, the beauty of Zavinash Kaushik, Google's digital marketing evangelist. Digital gives us the magnificent opportunity to fail really fast, pick ourselves up and get back at it. And if you do that, and you're agile, delightful, and occasionally unexpected, even to yourself, you can be the superhero of your brand and yourself. So thank you very much. Are you getting us up for Q&A then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Alrighty, fantastic. Let's jump into Q&A. Where's Malmberg at? Or somebody wants to jump on the mic? We're gonna walk these around, and yeah.
Sit down.
I'm not that old. I'm all right. Thank you.
Question for Melanie regarding the comments on ad extensions. What's been your experience with the Bing Ads annotations? I've been seeing a lot of those showing up lately with where they'll say how many Twitter users or the site's been visited by 100,000 plus people in the last month. I mean, what's kind of your experience with those versus, or compare contrast with the ad extensions?
Yeah, we've been all over ad extensions and not ad extensions, annotations lately. And some work and some don't. You might have seen some coming and going already. We're doing ones now to call to action, so you can, like if you can book a reservation. We're doing some review extensions, so it would be free and click to a third-party testimonial about how your brand is great, etc. Those are some that we're piloting this month. So some are sticking, some aren't. The ones that are sticking are doing fairly well, not as good as extensions in terms of moving the needle, but we are getting some success with them.
And Rob, you get the copy of the book because you drove for 3.5 hours to get here.
He's a champ. He does it
All
monthly.
the way from Idaho.
Thank you.
Well done.
I have a question for Melanie. First, thank you very much for providing auction insights. We're loving that data. But the question that I have is Bing in the process of developing a product similar to Google's conversion optimizer?
Short answer is I don't know. Sorry.
What kind of impact have you seen, just out of curiosity, on the Firefox deal as it pertains to lift of paid search clicks?
Yeah, so that was an awesome deal for Yahoo. They really scored with that. And since Yahoo and Bing are combined, the latest ComScore data for January, which is what internally at Microsoft we use as our Bible, I know there's other metrics out there, has Yahoo Bing Network combined query share now at 31%. So that Mozilla deal really did move the needle. More importantly, it looks like people are finally that we're taking some query share away from Google. Before, as you might be aware, it was kind of like Bing was taking query share away from Yahoo. And we were eking up slowly, but Google really wasn't hemorrhaging the volume. So that was a huge score for Yahoo.
Hey, and my question is for Mel. First of all, thank you. I really appreciate the stuff that you've shared about Majestic. We use it. And you've given us some ideas, or at least taken some notes of some things that we can try to integrate into our strategy to better serve our clients. That said, I was curious what your take would be on a scenario that we see often. So we take a client's URL and we put it in and we look at its trust flow, and it's relatively low. So if we're seeing like kind of consistently as we get clients, they're signing on for SEO services for a reason, and it probably has a lot to do with this trust flow. Would you think it would be more beneficial for us to focus on disassociating, so tracking down those links that are really bad, or focusing on just trying to build that trust flow back up, trying to, some of the recommendations that you gave, PR-based kind of digital, build it, repair it, gut it, or both? Or what would you think would be the best way to go if we had to choose?
That's a good question, and one probably for a more experienced SEO, at an agency or Dixon Jones. But from what I hear from talking to people, if the links are seriously horrendous and obviously bad, then getting in there and trying to get rid of them. I did a case study of a guy that actually got a penalty removed because he'd used Majestic forensically to weed out all the nasty ones, but then go out as well and have a proper campaign. Because really, before those kind of trust flow metrics came along, people were going out and doing link building, and it was marginal as to whether some of the links, well, obviously a lot of the links they shouldn't have gone after, but it was marginal whether some of the links that they thought were good, they should have gone after. And I do PR for people and events and stuff, and I get a lot of so-called journalists coming to me and saying, oh, but I write this and I do that and I've got this site. I'm throwing their site into Majestic, and if they don't have a good enough score or a good amount of links, then it's very difficult to see how they how they measure up, even though they are an actual news site. So I'll give you my card afterwards, and if you've got specific questions, I can hook you up, Dixon, to ask about any specific clients that you've got. But from what I understand, using it to ditch the really, really bad stuff is a good way, as well as using it especially for the competitive analysis to find out why their competitors have these really high trustworthy links, and figure out a strategy to get play in that party as well.
A couple questions, one for each of you actually. So first one, Mel, assuming that a company on the smaller scale that may not have a lot of historical backlinks or even references across the world does use Majestic, what would be your top 3 suggestions on how a smaller website would utilize the tool to really dig deep into where to gain some of those from if they don't have that iceberg effect that you were talking about to go and mine themselves? And then, so that's one. And then the other one is, I was curious on the campaign planner, how often are those numbers updated on a monthly? Is it daily that some of those comparative metrics are updated, or is it monthly aggregate numbers too? So Mel, if you can go first and then pass on.
So if your site's unknown, it's unlikely, but if it's unknown to Majestic, as soon as you put it in there and come back 24 hours later, it will have gone and crawled and come out with a good number. And I suppose the best example I can give you is Delightful Communications, my website, that when I launched, in 2012, I didn't have any links. I did a little bit of a PR campaign with some of the industry rags saying, hey, I've launched this new company. I got those nice people at Moz to link to me on their recommended list. If you're not on that, try and get on that, because you get a lot of people coming through for that. A lot of people ask me for SEO, which I don't do. But anyway, but since then, it's been painstaking for me going out and figuring out what are the kind of sites that I want linking to Delightful Communications. A lot of them around personal branding, and entrepreneurs and startups. So I now write for Entrepreneur, and I pitch articles at similar sites. I've also gone around recently with all the conferences, because I've relaunched my melcarson.com site to do more speaking opportunities, and I've gone around all the conferences over the last 3 years to say, hey, could you update my bio, which is on the site, and I've sneaked in a link to melcarson.com, because now conference digital marketing website linking to Mel Carson, who wants to be a digital marketing speaker, that kind of thing. I've got a few dodgy links in there as well, but because I'm not an SEO, I don't know how to disavow anything yet. I might get Dixon to help me with that. But for small companies, there is no one-size-fits-all, suddenly magic moment where, you click a button and it all happens. It does take time. But using things like Majestic, putting in competitors in there and figuring out who's who, is obviously very crucial. Because in my work now with lots of other businesses, I'm surprised at the amount of competitive analysis they don't do, because they're so busy executing on, oh, we've got this plan, that they have no time to actually stand up and look around and see what the competition are doing. Sorry, Mel, go on.
Oh, that's fine. So for Campaign Planner, the data that's in the Insights panel for the core KPIs, that's updated on a weekly basis. So it's with a range of the previous week, Sunday through Saturday. I represent a premium agency that has given the feedback that they would really like to be able to customize that date range. I've passed that along to the product team, so hopefully, yeah, next week. Yeah, don't quote me on that. But that feedback has been passed along, that people would like to have more control over it, especially if they're looking at historical metrics when planning. So maybe one of these days. But for now, it's the last 7 days.
So I have a question. And from a paid search point of view, I know that larger advertisers, Bing's kind of a pain in the ass as far as getting a rep. How would anyone in the crowd go about initiating that contact?
So we have different levels of service based on, as you might imagine, your spend on the Bing Ads platform. So if you don't...
Let's say if somebody's dropping $100,000 a month...
You should have a rep.
Right,
Absolutely, you should have an account rep.
So is there any specific person to reach out to, or how would...
Yeah, you can ping me. There is an official way. I want to say that if you go somewhere on the Bing Ads, there's a contact, a way to contact them. But if you're spending that kind of money every month, you should absolutely have representation. So I can put you in touch with
if anybody's spending 5 figures a month, ping Melanie. Because I know I had...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you can ping me. So I'm fine with that. And then someone on Twitter had asked about app extensions. Those are actually, we're piloting those right now. We're still onboarding advertisers. If you have Yahoo representation, reach out to them. They can get you in the pilot. You can also ping me if you don't have a Yahoo rep. And it's like spaceships are landing or something. We're expected to go to general availability at the end of March. So they're on the roadmap, definitely.
Any other betas that are out there that advertisers should consider that they may not know about and talk to their reps of?
Remarketing and paid search is the big one that everyone has been waiting for. So we rolled out universal event tracking in the fall. So that's the tag, the pixel that you can put across all of your pages to track consumer interaction with your site. And then we'll have the opportunity to bid boost based on the metrics that you select. So that's right around the corner, and we're really excited for it. End of second half of this year.
Mel, quick question for you. You may have mentioned this and I missed it. How frequently does the data update?
Several times a day.
So more or less real time, give or take a couple hours?
Yes.
Okay. So launching a PR campaign, you really will get live data quickly.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we're talking to some, when I talk about PR impact with, and if you know any, because there seem to be a lot, other than the big kind of 3 or 4 that I can think of that are huge, but press release distribution services that really annoy me because they say, your press release got 600,000 thingamajigs. And you say, well, what's a thingamajig? Well, somebody might have done something with it. I want to know who linked to it, who linked to the video that I just launched on YouTube and stuck in the press release. I want to know who linked to that little thing which had a little tracking URL on it as well, so then I can go back and build relationships with them, because people might write a story, but they might not necessarily mention the brand name in the story. And so wouldn't it be cool, and this is how we're selling them, that it's almost in real time, that you publish a press release and the next day you can go back and you see how many views it had, how many interactions that press release had, but then also see how many links that business had, that particular product had, that video had, etc., etc., etc. Because then you can use that data to then build in and also discover, new journalists and new news outlets that might not necessarily be on your media list. So you put them in the next one so they get the heads up the first time round. So they did try and get it to hourly, but that's a lot of data to crunch, especially if they're looking at 1 billion a day. So how did you get on? Are you anywhere near 1 trillion yet? Or has he gone? He was counting to 1 trillion. Oh, he gave up.
Looks like that's it. Thanks, everybody. Let's
All
thank
right.
our speakers once again.
Thank you very much for having us.
And look for that info coming soon on our next event, but details to be released.